Heidelberg a more broader, multi-purpose institution than those who wanted to concentrate on the classes.
I'll be. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is now 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the City Council meeting for November 15th, 2021 to order. Clerk will take the roll. Invocation this evening will be led by Councilman Leopard.
Please join me in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven,
Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ask Council Clerk Forrest to take the roll, please.
Councilmember Leopard.
Present.
Councilmember Perkins.
Here.
Councilmember Perry.
Present.
Councilmember Boyle. Here. Councilmember Gillig.
Here.
Councilmember Yanatuno. Here. Councilmember Jones.
Present.
Let the record show that all 7 members of City Council are present, with the exception of Council President Fote, who is ill this evening. I'd like to now call to order a joint public hearing with Tiffin City Council and the Planning Commission to be held this evening, November 15th, 2021, in council chambers for consideration of ordinance 21-98, ordinance zoning approximately 0.357 acres of land owned by Damsa LTD in the 3rd Ward of the city as Zone C2, General Commercial District, compatible with adjacent land use and meeting requirements of Tiffin City Charter and the codified ordinances. And ordinance 21-102, ordinance amending the zoning map of the city of Tiffin to change the zoning classification of 7 parcels of land on Adams Street, North Monroe Street, and Frost Parkway owned by Monument LLC and ERF Partners LLC in the 2nd Ward of the city of Tiffin, Ohio. Anyone wishing to address council may direct their questions to the council president when so prompted. Mr. Mayor, would you like to call your roll?
Yes, with that, I'll also call the City of Tiffin Planning Commission to order, of which I am the chair. We have City Engineer Matt Watson in attendance in the audience. Matt, if you would dispense the roll call quickly for us, please.
Rod Morrison, present. John Payne, present. Bryce Briggs. Bob Williams, present. Vicki Wilkins. City Administrator Gail Thornton.
Present.
Mayor Aaron Mott.
Present. We have a quorum, Mr. President.
Very good. Does anyone have any questions or comments about either of these ordinances? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and declare the meeting closed at 7:03 p.m. Hearing closed, excuse me. Petitions.
There are no petitions, Mr. President.
Thank you. Did everyone have an opportunity to review the minutes from the November 1st, 2021 regular and committee of the whole meetings? Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? Seeing none, they will stand approved as presented. Finance Committee has no report this evening. Law and Community Planning, Councilwoman Boyle.
Nothing at this time, Mr. President.
Thank you. Materials and Equipment, Councilman Jones.
No report at this time, Mr. President.
Personnel and Labor Relations, Councilman Perry.
No report, Mr. President.
Recreation and Public Property, Councilman Perkins.
No report, Mr. President.
Street, Sidewalks, and Sewers, Councilman Leopard.
No report, Mr. President.
Economic Development and Downtown Planning, Councilwoman Yanatuno.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Does anyone see a need for a committee of the whole meeting? Seeing none, we'll move on to reports to the officers. His Honor, Mayor Aaron D. Montz.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I stated in committee of the whole, we had to cancel the budget hearing last week due to attendance issues with several of our council members. But I do know that you all have had the budget now for 2 weeks. So I did inform everyone that over tonight and the next 2 meetings after tonight, Please ask any questions that you have of us, and we will, and myself, the finance director and the city administrator, will do our best to answer your questions. Those in the public that have never seen it, this is the budget. It's quite the document. This is all of the spending for the city of Tiffin over the course of the next calendar year. It equates out to, what do we have here? And of course, there's not a page number on there. So about 150 pages of documents for our city's budget. I want to thank the department heads for such a positive process this year. They put a ton of time into it. We begin this process really in August of every year, at least on the upper levels, the administration. But when you look down at the other departments, they're already thinking about these items in May and June and July to get prepared for the year's budget. So we have a very sound document that the administration stands fully behind, and we hope that you make the approval of the budget at the December 20th council meeting so that we can begin next year on the right foot and with our expenditures. But as I stated during my report, each of the next 3 meetings, we're happy to answer any questions that involve the budget. I know Kathy has her finance report this evening. She did not have it for the previous one, and Kathy, I almost feel like there's no point in you reading it because of how drastic things have changed since this was done. So you look at the report, it's very nice where we wrapped up last month. We are up 6.7%. Year to date, things looking very positive. This month, as we've warned everyone about, the bottom continues to fall out, but we have to keep in mind we've had a very good run to start this year, and we are up against the highest fourth quarter income tax collections that we've ever had with the city. In fact, I think there are 2 of the 3 months here in the fourth quarter, income tax collections were up over 20% compared to where they were the previous year. So we are facing really about the strongest headwinds you'll ever see as far as numbers to compete with the fourth quarter of last year. So unfortunately, we've dipped below 5% now of being up compared to last year. We're down to about 4.7% ahead of where we were last year, which is approximately a $430,000 increase. I'll be honest, the month of November is quite difficult. November of last year, we are up about 23% compared to 2019. So it will be extremely difficult not to be down probably fairly hefty again this month. I honestly foresee us going into December, probably ahead by less than a full 4% now once we get into the month of December. The silver lining to all this was December was the only month in fourth quarter last year where we were down compared to 2019. It was by 3.5%. So we may have a chance to make up a little bit then. I'm still confident we're going to finish this year ahead of last year's numbers. It's just not going to be the numbers like everybody had seen a few months ago where we were up by almost 10%. It's going to be much less than that, but we're continuing. You know, Tiffin was one of the few communities last year that actually came out ahead in the year of the pandemic where we were the year before. Most every community lost money. So of course now we're being punished by our American Rescue Plan dollars because we can't say we lost revenue last year like a lot of these communities have. So communities like Tiffin who were successful and implemented things to help businesses remain in business are in a roundabout way not being made whole like some of the others are by making up all this by receiving all these ARPA funds. But we will find good uses for them. There's many of them in the budget already as we get into next year. So that's the financial update. And then the only other item that I want to share, I have a letter that I'm going to read this evening, and that is in regards to the Riverfront Development Project. And then after I read this letter, we can get into questions, whether they're about my mayor's report, general questions, or even questions about the budget. This was a letter that I dated November 12th, 2021, and sent to Eduardo Hernando, the lead on the Tiffin Riverfront Development LLC. That letter states, "Dear Mr. Hernando, the City of Tiffin administration, along with the Director of Law, reviewed the letter from Stonehill Strategic Capital LLC to Tiffin Riverfront Development LLC dated October 27th, 2021, which you submitted to Tiffin City Council at its regular meeting on November 1st, 2021. We find that the letter is not a written loan commitment with credit approval as required in the second addendum to the real estate purchase agreement signed effective 8/30/2021 because the letter is non-binding and expressly subject to credit approval. In addition, the letter fails to provide the remaining financing for the project that you represented in your October 7th, 2021 email to city officials. Because you failed to provide the required letter to the city by November 1st, 2021, I am requesting that Tiffin City Council approve an ordinance confirming the administration's finding that the letter was non-compliant and that pursuant to the terms of the second addendum, the real estate purchase agreement is null and void. I understand that the City Council will introduce and consider such an ordinance at its next regular meeting held on November 15th, 2021. Should you have any questions, please let me know. It is the interpretation of the administration that it's clear and convincing that the letter that we received at the October 1st meeting does not meet the requirements of the ordinance and the addendum passed by City Council. With that, I know the law director would like to make a few comments, and then we can open it up to if there are any questions from council members regarding this topic, any other topic, or the budget. Law director?
Thank you, Mayor. The letter that the mayor read was after he's issued to the Tiffin Riverfront Development LLC, was issued after I had provided a legal opinion to the mayor, which I understand he's accepted. And my legal opinion, and I'd like to express it to you so that you understand the opinion as you are considering the ordinance and understanding why the ordinance was drafted the way it is. My opinion is that the written loan commitment with credit approval, as it was titled, and it was given to City Council on November 1st, did not meet the requirements of the second addendum that the parties signed. It is non-binding, and it expressly is subject to credit approval. So we don't have the credit approval that was required. The language of that letter illustrates the point. And that language includes, for discussion purposes only, subject to approval of credit authorities at Stonehill Strategic Capital, only intended to be used as a basis for continued discussion, not a commitment to invest, non-binding, only a general non-binding interest, in no manner obligates Stonehill Strategic Capital, subject to Stonehill Strategic Capital's investment committee approval process, does not create a legally binding commitment or obligation on the part of Stonehill. And no party hereto shall be legally bound to the other by reason of this letter. So that's the part of the language that was clearly expressed to us, that it didn't meet the requirements that you had wanted and was agreed to by Tiffin Riverfront Development. Because of the language of the letter, then that makes the agreement null and void because it was not produced timely. The second addendum says by its terms that if the required letter is not submitted by November 1st, then that agreement is null and void. It doesn't take any action on the part of the city or anyone else. So it is, my opinion, null and void. There is no current agreement for the sale of the property to Tiffin Riverfront Development LLC. And the city administration has accepted that opinion and has adopted that as its decision in understanding where we are with the development. The ordinance that you have in front of you tonight is Ordinance 21-111. And you see the language of that ordinance. It confirms what I just described, that the agreement is null and void. You're not taking action that is absolutely legally necessary in order to make that agreement null and void. You're just confirming that. You're just adding to the record, if you will, that that agreement is not in force. But it was null and void as of November 1st. So I wanted to express my legal opinion. As a part of the process of analyzing this letter that we received, I did share that with the attorneys at Squire, Patton, and Boggs. They provide bond counsel. They provide special counsel when we've had TIFs. As you know, it's a kind of a special area of law when government gets into financing projects. So in the past, we have used Squire to help us with the TIF financing. We anticipated that there might be some form of financing, so I had kind of suggested to John Larson that we needed his assistance, so they were standing ready in the event that we did receive a loan commitment letter that we could work with. Instead, I shared this letter, and he understands the agreement and all the documents related to it. John, and also an attorney that works closely with economic development projects in their Columbus office, reviewed it and agreed with my analysis. You know, they said that clearly it did not meet the requirements of the addendum. Now, that may be questioned by the developer. You know, they may not agree with that, and they may follow up with some comments to council at some point or the city. I've had some discussions with their council today, this afternoon, but they understand that there is legislation before council. It's now that ordinance is in the legislative process. Part of the legislative process, as you know, is to provide public awareness of what you're doing with public activities and public property. So I don't think there's necessarily a reason that you have to pass it tonight. It may be helpful to let the community know what is happening, and as part of the decision-making process, they can hear a report in the newspaper. They might be listening this evening, and then you can further discuss this at the next meeting, and then take action at the next meeting if you'd like. You could suspend the third reading at that time, and that would be the first meeting in December. It's up to you. It's your discretion. You control that legislative process. You have the right to suspend the three-reading rule at any time. There is an emergency on it, because I think it makes sense, as the emergency talks about, that there is a public need to confirm what has happened here so that you can move on with this public resource and use it for the benefit of the community. Any questions about my opinion, the city's position that we've conveyed to the developer?
Councilmember Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Director Law Howard, for that explanation. And again, 21-111 is new tonight. I heard another council person several weeks ago say that, and not me, we City Council made a commitment to Riverfront LLC 5 years ago, and that council person thought we should uphold that. That sticks in the back of my mind. I'm thinking about this ordinance. Is it good for the second ward? It really doesn't directly affect the citizens of the second ward. Is it good for Tiffin? I'm thinking, yes, this is good for Tiffin. I'm not directing questions to Director Law Howard, just share my opinion here. Pick a number. Several years ago, somebody wanted to look east from Washington Street, 1 block east, and put in $2 million. Everything was go, go, go. 5 years ago, somebody said, let's put $20 million west of Washington Street, 1 block, and it sounded like it was no, no, no. So I was going to ask who the sponsor of this ordinance 21-111 is. I was going to ask them to table it for 2 weeks to give Mr. Hernando, and he sent a letter to us, and give him time to communicate with city administration and go from there. And whoever the sponsor of this is, if they don't want to make the motion, I'll make the motion at the proper time to table ordinance 111. So that's my input.
Director of Law Howard.
A couple comments. If you want to have further consideration of the legislation, my suggestion is that it would be introduced and not tabled then. It would be introduced and read and not voted on. And you can then read it again at your next meeting, have further consideration, and decide how to deal with that. That would give the same kind of opportunity for the developer and others to comment on the legislation. That's the first about procedure. Secondly, you talked about giving opportunity to someone to develop property. I agree. However, we negotiated and signed a contract in which council approved. The terms of that contract were breached. As a result of that, we need to take action to continue on with using this resource for the public good. If we do not hold up to our contracts, then we don't have the ability to effectively develop property. So it's my recommendation that the ordinance just confirms the terms of the contract that you approved and additional opportunities for the developer not be provided. He was given adequate opportunities to live up to the terms of the agreement, and he failed. And those are the circumstances that are presented to City Council, and I think you need to respond appropriately to that.
Councilwoman Boyle.
Yeah, thank you. So I just want to respond to a couple things and also echo a lot of what Director of Law said. The only commitment that's been broken has not been by us as the City of Council. It's been by Riverfront Development LLC. I mean, we've given several chances and extensions, and as of November 1st, it's been officially broken. So I don't know how much more of a extension or commitment or time that we can give at this point. So just my opinion and my response to some of your comments, Councilman Jones.
Yeah, I would also reiterate that this is the mayor's decision. This would just be a confirmation on the part of City Council. That being said, I certainly would echo the law director, and it's up to council. I would certainly echo the law director that this does not need to be suspended tonight. That'll give us another 2 weeks until we meet again, and then if we so feel the need, we would meet again on the 20th. I don't know that tabling would do anything. You're certainly welcome to make that motion, but just food for thought. Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just can't believe Mr. Hernando down in Florida and I'm sure working on this project for 5 years, he had either a lawyer help him write this or not. I just can't believe that he or Riverfront Development LLC let this slip through the cracks, for lack of a better thing. So I think I'm missing something here between him and communication with the city administration, I guess.
Councilman Leopard.
I was a signer of that ordinance, Ken. All you have to do is read Stonehill's documentation that they provided to City Council. It doesn't take an attorney to figure out that this contract is null and void. I mean, I've got it highlighted everywhere where Stonehill said this is a commitment letter for discussion purposes only, and it states that in words to that effect all through this document that he provided. It, you know, we don't need a degree to tell that it's null and void. I have no intentions of asking for a suspension of the 3 reading rule tonight.
Any other questions or comments for the mayor or director of law? Mr. Mayor, anything else for your report?
No. If there are any budgetary items, though, I'm happy to discuss those now.
Any budgetary items that have come up for further questioning? Councilmember Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think this is a proper time to talk about the budget for 2022.
Yes.
And I submitted several questions to city administration, and if anybody wants to follow along, I have a copy here. If not, And,
You have copies of your questions, Councilman
correct,
Jones?
yes.
I would love one if you don't mind.
Okay, if we can, if Bridget and I can share, I don't know if they want to follow along or not. I just thought I'd made a few copies here. And I'm sure these answers can be short and maybe they're not even the questions that city administration was looking for. Yeah. But one of them was,
You don't get a copy.
can't you two buddy up and? Can't you two buddy up? I'm sorry, that slipped. Strike that from the record. One question I had at the top of those 150-some pages is, it involves a 3% raise. I'm stand corrected. Involves a 3.5% raise for city employees. So my question was, at the time, I thought the union negotiated a 3% increase, and the non-union, we voted at 2%. So I guess the question is, where did 3.5% come in versus 3 and 2? And then re-looking at it, it was for, and I'm called the management side of the raise it, or, so I guess 3.5 is what compared to this?
Yeah, so council would have never voted on anyone outside of a union raised last go-around for this coming year. The agreed-upon amount for union employees is whatever specified in their union contract. But we took the average wage increase, and that's how we arrived at the 3.5% for our non-union employees.
3.5% for the non-union employees.
Yes. And then the union employees received whatever was specified in their contracts.
But didn't we vote to give the non-union employees a 2%? Was that just for 2021, this 2%?
Yeah, so union employees go on a 3-year cycle. Their contract and their wages are set for 3 years. Non-union employees' wages are only set for 1 year.
Thank you, sir.
So that's why it may have very well, I can't remember what 2021 was, it may have very well been 2%. But we only go year to year on the non-union employees. They don't have a 3-year contract. They're on a year-to-year basis.
Okay.
And then we always have always taken whatever the average is of the union employee wages, and we give that to the non-union employees across the board.
That's good.
Then another one that caught my eye, Fund 101, I'm just asking, can it be balanced differently? It looks like we're starting out $777,794 short. Again, I admit I'm not used to working with $40 and $50 million budgets, but I am familiar with working with $40,000, $50,000 budgets like at home, and you add 3 zeros to it. To me, it's about the same thing. And our budget at home would not start out, pick a number, 4% shy or whatever the number was, so.
Yeah,
And that be rebalanced.
Well, the short answer is no. We're not interested. So as we explained last year at the budget process, every year we budget certain amounts. And every year we expend anywhere from usually 93 to 95% of what is budgeted in every department is what they spend. If you look historically, this is the way that now all 10 years that I've been the mayor that we've done budgets. And we know that at the end of the cycle, we're going to see somewhere between 5 and 7% not spent every single year with our budget. So that's why we do this. If we were to budget to the exact dollar to make that balance, we'd be back here every council meeting with probably 10 times the amount of ordinances that we have right now, because we would essentially be coming to you every time we needed another $5, another $10, because that's how fine we would have to budget. So in doing this, we still stayed well within the 5 to 7% range that we always are in. Last year, gosh, we're on pace this year to, 2020, because of the pandemic year, with everything that we turned back in, we were darn near 10% that we didn't spend because the department heads just knew that they had to tighten their budgets. It was, I think, even over 10%. So, and then we also, with several of these funds, it's going to be similar questions, because I know question C that you had asked the similar question about balancing all funds. It's the same thing. So you've got to remember, we have CARES Act dollars right now that we still haven't spent. We also have the new American Rescue Plan dollars that have come in that still have to be spent. So the only way to spend those dollars is to spend more money than we're bringing in, or you're never going to spend down those dollars and we're just going to turn it into the federal government. So a lot of that, why this is out of whack, and especially question C, the 1.5, and I think, was there another one in here that you had? I can't find it
Just those
quick
two,
enough.
I
Yeah,
believe,
so there are a couple of funds. So one of the lines, for example, in the budget, which is that number, so the 297, you see the American Rescue Plan Act. We receive half that money this year already, the other half next year. So we're going to have about 1.84 million in that fund. But because we received half this year, half next year, of course, it looks like we're going to spend, I just turned that 900 and some thousand more in that line than we had budgeted because we received half this year, half next year. So you've got to, there's a lot of one-time expenses that we have in every year's budget, but especially this year. So if you look forward on your other question about line 581, that's page 4 of your questions. Why is that one budgeted 55,000? Or why was it budgeted less than the 55,000? It's because last year they had one-time expenses that they don't have this year. So I know it sounds like a general answer for a lot of these, but that's truly what it is. It's a lot of one-time expenses that next year aren't going to be in a lot of these lines, especially with American Rescue Plan Act dollars and CARES Act dollars. So in my 10 years as mayor, we've had the 3 largest unencumbered balances, like extra available funds than we've had in the city's history, 3 of the 10 years that I've been mayor. And this is the way we always budget things. I can tell you now, Councilman Jones, if we budget to where this fund is truly balanced, meaning we take 777,000 out of this line and another 1.5 out of that line, you're going to have next year, the carryover is going to be so ridiculously big in the city that you're going to have people quite upset that we're not spending their tax dollars in the right ways here at the city. So I know that was a question that kind of answers B, C, and then this other B, I see there's another B on page 2, would cover all of those, and then also that question on page 4. So I guess, does that answer
Yes.
what
yes,
you're
it does.
asking before? Okay.
And then one more, just jumped out.
Yep.
Fund 215, the street bridge.
Yeah, that's for the Ellis Street Bridge. The extra money we have to spend to replace Ellis Street.
600,000.
Yep, that's why.
Thank you.
So well, that may be reflected next year's budget and then also 22, because this is going to, in 23. Matt, when do you think the final change orders will come in for the Ellis Street Bridge? Are you looking at 23 or 24? Okay. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, with a lot of these projects, when we sign the contract, we have to have the full amount budgeted. But like the Ellis Street Bridge, it's going to take 2 years' worth of expenses, so we have to have all of that in here, which makes that fund look like it's $600,000 over budget, when in reality, a lot of that money isn't even going to be spent till 23, but we have to have it available before we can even sign the contract. So that's why you get a lot of these years where you've got like Fund 101, $770,000 short, and the other fund, $600,000 extra budgeted. It's because if we're going to sign the contract, we have to have all of that money put in here, even though it might be spent over 2 years, over 3 years, whatever. And then, of course, you dump in all the extra ARPA dollars. Like one of your questions was about the police vehicles, the only spending 15,000. That's because the new vehicles are actually being purchased with ARPA funds because the police cars are going to self-sanitize. So we can use that. But what we can't use are the accessories for the car. So we can buy the police vehicle with American Rescue Plan Act dollars because it self-sanitizes itself, but we can't pay for the decorative decals outside because that doesn't do anything. Decals don't fight the COVID virus. We can't pay for the computer system inside because that doesn't fight it, but the self-sanitizing vehicle itself does, so we can pay for the full cost of the vehicle, just not the accessories for the vehicle. So the 15,000 are the computer systems, the light bars on top, the decals for the police cars. Those are the things. So that's why that's saving us significant dollars on capital, because we're using Rescue Plan Act dollars for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Moving along, see $40,000 for new office furniture in the Director of Finance's area. Is that, I don't shop much, so is that a fair price for office furniture?
It may not be with inflation right now. It may not be at all with inflation right now. You know, so we are doing a complete remodel of the finance office and bringing it up to Americans with Disability Act compliance. And it's actually, that building's going to be connected to City Hall. They won't have to go outside now. But with that, they're remodeling those offices internally. They haven't purchased new furniture since before I've been mayor. I don't even think when I was on council, they've purchased furniture. So they're getting all new because the whole inside of that lobby, they can't, the cubicles and the desk won't even go together with how the new layout is. So they have to get new furniture for, how many folks total is it, Kathy?
We have 8.
8 employees, plus a conference room, plus a restroom, plus, trying to think, am I missing anything else? Well, the public area, the counters, yeah, so I think it's actually quite, yeah, that's, without actually, yeah, coming out and say I think it's actually, they may struggle to get everything for that price, if anything, because.
Then, the same area, only $2,000 for new office furniture for the new director of communications office.
Yes. So
sounds
I
like
don't
not
know,
very
yeah,
much.
I don't know what he or she's going to need, so I don't want to budget too much. I'd rather them come into office. Their office will be the former office where the administrative assistant sits now. So they will, at least for the first year, be able to utilize that same desk space. They'll inherit the same computer. So that $2,000 really, I see, allows them to start getting a head start on next year if they want to reconfigure the office. But I'd hate to give someone $10,000 because I feel like if you come into a new role, you feel like you need to spend that or else you're never going to get money again. So I'd rather start them off small, have he or she come up with a game plan on how they want their office configured, knowing that they're going to have a computer, they're going to have a desk, they're going to have a chair already. Spend a little bit of this on what they may need. Maybe they need a laptop. Maybe they need a fancy camera for communicate. I don't know, but at least this is a starting point. And I don't know, you may see the director of communications back in here next year because they have found they need more money, but I'd rather have them come to council versus just willy-nilly giving them $5,000 or $10,000, not having the first clue how much they truly need.
Okay. Then it looks like we're budgeting $11,575 for newspaper.
Yeah, and I think the vast majority of that, because I had seen, oh, that one was on your other sheet. The vast majority of that are areas that we have to advertise based on the law. They're all areas that, because of different things that are set out by the charter or in our ordinances for various meetings, the engineer's offices are required to publish all of the different bid documents and everything else. These are going off the figures of what we spend almost every year. I mean, I know it seems like a lot, and you look at this, it seems like probably the city of Tiffin, Seneca County, and the schools are probably keeping the AT in business with all the money. Look, she even acknowledged, yep, she says yes. So Nicole, what's your salary? And I'll tell you, can we make a deal here? Yeah. So that's what a lot of it is. And ads are expensive, as you found out recently with the charter amendments, how big that bill was.
Right, yep.
It is not cheap to run ads in the newspaper, but if you look, this is traditionally about how much we spend every year because whether it's our local ordinances, and I know some of it, I believe, law director or state laws also that require that we can't change even if we alter our charter. So it's very expensive. Trust me, I wish that we could cut back significantly on what we advertise because that's a lot of money that I feel like we spend that we don't get much bang for the buck, but we're required by law to do so.
Support and stuff.
And one last one. Computers, $57,850. I haven't priced a laptop. I am priced a computer, but
You know what?
that's a good number, correct? $57,850 and.
You know, Ken, I'll be honest, I didn't see that one on here, even though it's right in front of me. I thought it was all newspaper, and I didn't see your second title, so I didn't look that up. Dale?
Mayor, I took a look at it.
Okay, perfect. I thought I was going to have all of them answered tonight. I missed one, so.
You can break it into two components, really. Professional services was the $30,500. That's for software licensing and maintenance of existing systems.
Okay.
So most of that is a professional service expense. Remaining $27,000 is really supplies and equipment in a variety of different departments throughout the city so that they can keep their computers running and maintain those. So those are the two buckets that fell in.
Okay, thank you. I look back on the notes, I didn't ask any questions last year on our budget process, so I thought I would double up here, so thank you.
Ken, you don't know how much we appreciate you giving us these ahead of time, because I could look up the answers, make
Yep.
notes for myself, instead of us, like I said, because that would have probably taken us 3 times that long for me to flip each page and find each. So I sincerely appreciate you submitting those questions to us, because it allows us to do the research and answer things a lot quicker. So thank you.
Yep. And yes, I flipped through that and put down things that caught my eye, and someone else, maybe City Administrator Thornton, I need to appreciate how many hours the department heads and yourselves went through that, so yes.
Yep, we
Hour I
appreciate
spent
you.
on that is nothing compared to what,
We really appreciate it, Ken. It
Okay.
means a lot to us, and I know, especially the department heads, just because it allows us to answer things so much quicker and more efficiently versus fishing around here all night trying to find where it's at and all of this, so. Are there any other council members with questions on items in the budget? If not, you have 2 more meetings, so.
Yeah, Councilman Jones, I want to commend you for these because there's some really interesting information that was nice to have discussed publicly, especially about the 93 to 95% of budgeted accounts being spent. And it really kind of gives us an appreciation for what Kathy and our department heads do. You know, this is really a living, breathing document when you think about it. Now, you mentioned a really interesting point, Mr. Mayor, about with inflation, are there software programs or any services we utilize that might help us to predict those things?
I mean, I know we go on and we try to use some of the algorithms that the state and federal government has for things like motor vehicle gas and oil and things like that, but there are others that we do the best forecasting we can here locally. Just like with electric and natural gas right now, it's very difficult to budget because we've been in the process of switching tons of our city lights and other things to LED we've put in the new energy saving boiler at City Hall and new HVAC systems. But so you're expecting to save a lot, but then when you're reading articles that natural gas and electric and other things could be going up, it's so hard to figure out what to put in here right now. And the fire department is seeing the same thing with medical supplies. We did the best we could this year, but this was probably, at least as far as forecasting these items like that, the inflationary items, it was difficult. But we did get good news, for example, with our health insurance. It was probably the smallest premium increase we've had in years. So you celebrate that victory now, but then you also wonder, because a lot of people did not go to the doctor like they normally did last year for checkups. So the fear is, why we saved this year, is it going to hurt us years down the road because there will be more trouble diagnosing things like cancer and diabetes and heart condition because people didn't go to the doctor for a year or 2 straight for those normal checkups. Yeah, it's more in flux than it's ever been. And those are things that we all had to think about. And that's why with insurance this year was one of the items that we really kind of stewed over for a long time with the figures, because we don't want to sell ourselves short because we do that. And then all of a sudden our health insurance line gets into the negative. And then that's when we get hit with a 15 or 20% increase in one year that they'll find Kathy and I in the fetal position under our desk because we, trying to come up with those kind of funds. So, yeah, if I would love for someone to just sit through this sometime and watch everything that goes through the process. But, I know I showed it earlier in the meeting, but this budget that's about 150 pages long, it is quite the document. And I would challenge anyone to even figure out their whole personal spending for the next year, figure out every dime you're going to spend next year in your own household. We have to do that for the city, essentially, with all of this. And of course, we can make changes, but we have to go to you all, and there's 3 readings, and it takes time. Whereas your personal expense, at least if you make a mistake and forget to put a 0 or a 1 in, you can go back and correct that later, or you can, we don't have that ability very well here with the city. So it is a great document, and no one appreciates the time and effort put in by our department heads more than I do, because it's all consuming for a couple-month period with us at City Hall.
Any additional questions or comments for Mayor Montz? Will that conclude your report, Mr. Mayor?
It does, Mr. President.
Very good. Clerk of Council, Ann Forrest.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Director of Finance, Kathy Kaufman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the report for the month of October, which seems like a long time ago. Okay, so total receipts for October were $2,863,853.68. Total expenses for the month were $2,537,421.60. The general fund unencumbered balance was $4,482,922.77. Income tax receipts for October 2021 were $800,986.22. When you compare October 2021 to October 2020, we had a decrease of $146,324.15. However, year-to-date, we were still up by 6.71%. The 0.25% portion of income tax receipts that was transferred into Fund 215 for public streets for October was $99,006.29. The unexpended balance for all funds is $32,534,129.98, which is the same as the bank balances for the same time period. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Finance Director Kaufman. May I ask someone from the Finance Committee, Councilwoman Boyle?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to accept the finance director's report as presented. I know I'm missing something.
And the bank reconciliation.
And the bank reconciliation for the month of October.
We have a motion to accept the Finance Director's report and bank reconciliation as presented. Do we have a second? Councilman Perkins.
I'd like to second, please.
We have a motion and a second to accept the Finance Director's report and bank reconciliation as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Director of Law, Brent T. Howard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to go into executive session. I ask council to move to go into executive session to consider the employment of a public official. It should be brief.
Councilman Perry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to motion that we go into executive session to consider the employment of a public official.
We have a second. Councilwoman Yanatuno.
I'll second, Mr. President.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn to executive session. Should we take the roll, or can this be a voice vote?
Take a roll, please.
Okay.
And when you come out also.
Okay. Council Clerk Forrest, would you take a roll on the motion?
Councilmember Leopard.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Perry.
Yes.
Boyle.
Yes.
Gillig.
Yes.
Yanatuno.
Yes.
And Jones.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes 7-0. We will go into executive session at 7:47 PM.
reappointment to the ADA Committee, Mark Samodi. Request for legislation number 21-26, reappointment to Fair Housing Board, Ed Lake. Request for legislation number 21-27, reappointment to the Investment Advisory Committee, Wayne Wax. Request for legislation number 21-28, reappointment to Tree Commission, Brian Ferguson. Request for legislation number 21-29, reappointment to Tax Incentive Review Council, Robert Mack Jr. Request for legislation number 21-30, reappointment to Zoning Board of Appeals, Robert Mack Jr. Request for legislation number 21-31, appointment to Zoning Board of Appeals, Robert Williams. Request for legislation number 21-32, reappointment to the Tiffin Recreation and Beautification Endowment Fund Board, Randy Weiser. Request for legislation number 21-33, reappointment to Zoning Board of Appeals, Greg Dell. Request for legislation number 21-34, appointment to Zoning Board of Appeals, Bryce Riggs. Request for legislation number 21-35, reappointment to Local Income Tax Board of Review, James Boroff. And a new one received today, request for legislation number 21-36, the ABR, an appointment of Brooks Edwards to the ABR Architectural Board of Review.
Mayor's request for legislation F 21-25 through 21-36 will be referred to the Personnel and Labor Relations Committee.
And then we have mayor's request for legislation number 21-37, amend the fee schedule for the city engineer's office. That's a new one tonight.
Okay. That will be referred to the Finance Committee.
And then we have Finance Director's request for legislation, number F21-41, requesting the council allow the Tiffin City Finance Department to implement a $30 fee for each check returned for insufficient funds beginning January 1st, 2022.
Finance Director's request for legislation F21-41 will be referred to the Finance Committee.
And lastly, we have Mayor's letter of appreciation to Mr. and Mrs. Richard Anderson for their donation to the Parks and Recreation Department.
Very good.
That concludes the written communications.
Thank you, Council Clerk Forrest. We are now under oral communications. Anyone wishing to dialogue with the council, please step forward, sign in, and direct your questions or comments to Council President.
Jeff Weber. Is it appropriate for me to comment on the riverfront at this point?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I came here tonight hopeful that there would be swift action taken. I believe that Mr. Hernando has been given several opportunities to meet an obligation that you folks granted, and then you granted some extensions, and he's managed to now miss those extensions. His hotel project has put my hotel project, our hotel project, in jeopardy. I think I made it clear a number of weeks ago, months ago when I came, that in my belief, Tiffin needs a downtown hotel. The market studies show it, that we have funded, and I'm willing to do that, so much so that we purchased a building, and we are waiting to do our building. But I am not going to do it if he's going to go forward. So any future delays is causing us future delays. And I will tell you that I've got $2 million in historic tax credit seed money that I am now in jeopardy of losing because I am not going to be able to meet, potentially not going to be able to meet my obligation on a deadline because of the continued extensions and forgiveness that has been granted to Mr. Hernando. I will also say that in this process of getting approval, in order for a bank to approve something, they need to see finished plans. And as of a month ago, he hadn't even hired or finalized a deal with an architectural firm. How is it that he's going to have approved plans to put forth with bids from construction companies that he's gotten in order to make a February deadline, if that's the next one that is somehow met? Because I think that's the next date that was on there. So I'm asking you, I'm imploring you to please take quick action on this so that we can continue with our plans. Otherwise, it could put our hotel in jeopardy, and I'm not sure that you want that. You might wind up with none. You're certainly not going to get two, and I'm willing to be the one right now. So I please ask that you consider that as you consider the ordinance that is going to be on your docket later this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. I might add that we are not actually going to be taking the action to terminate the agreement. The agreement is terminated. It is null and void. This would be council confirmation of that opinion and that decision by city administration. So I would say it's done. Is there anyone else that would wish to dialogue with the public? Dr. Perez? Congratulations, by the way. Okay, we are now under motions. Do we have any motions? Seeing none, we'll move on to resolutions and ordinances.
There are no resolutions this evening, Mr. President. I have amended ordinance number 21-96, introduced by Ben Gillig. Ordinance approving a First Amendment to the joint use, management, and lease agreement with Seneca County by revising the calculation of the city's share of operating costs of the Joint Justice Center, authorizing the mayor to sign the First Amendment on behalf of the city, amending the budget to pay the city's share of 2020 operating costs, and declaring an emergency.
That is the third reading of amended ordinance 21-96. Councilwoman Boyle.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for council's passage of ordinance 21-96.
We have a motion for passage of amended ordinance 21-96. Do we have a second? Councilwoman Yanatuno.
I'll second, Mr. President.
We have a motion and a second to pass amended ordinance 21-96. Is there any discussion? Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Meeting 2 weeks ago, I was hoping to, I guess, wait 2 weeks to hear input from the public. And I guess I was waiting to hear, again, that one person from the second ward has contacted me over ordinance 2196 2 weeks ago after the meeting. Director of Finance Kaufman and I were talking, and then city administrator and I, when he explained about inflation being maybe 6, 8, 9%. That caught my ear. Gas prices up, I saw on the TV. 6 states goes from 40% to 60% more than last year. I went to McDonald's today to get an extra hash brown that used to be $1, and it was $1.69. There was a 69% increase. Electric and gas costs are natural gas and electric. I'm on the PUCO, apples to apples, and I try to get the best price. I looked today, and I think I'm paying around 30, 31 cents for gas and electric. Not me, we. And the prices, as Mayor Mons pointed out, are shot up. So based on all that and no input from the second ward, I just want to and I did talk to Commissioner Schuff. I called down there, talked to Commissioner Schuff about this, and he reminded me, and I've heard, again, I don't shop much, but price of wood and lumber is sky high. Cost of steel is sky high. So with input from City Administrator, Commissioner Schuff, and lack of it from the second ward, I just want to let you know I did do some homework that I said I was going to pursue.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. And if I recall correctly, that will be a 3% yearly increase in the cities. So they may be immediately regretting that decision.
That's why you need to hurry and pass it.
Yes. Just as a side note, I have a one of our physical education teachers is remodeling a house and he needs garage doors. And 9-month wait right now, 9-month. Very good. Council Clerk Forrest, would you take a roll on the emergency, please?
Councilmember Leopard,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Boyle,
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Yanatuno,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Emergency passes 7-0. Take a vote on the passage, please.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilman Leopard. Perkins,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Boyle,
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Yanatuno,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Amended ordinance 21-96 passes by a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 21-100, introduced by Daniel Perry. Ordinance enacting section 149.035 of Tiffin Codified Ordinances regarding the appointment of a deputy fire chief.
That is the third reading of ordinance 21-100. Councilman Perry.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for passage of ordinance 21-100.
We have a motion for passage of ordinance 21-100. Do we have a second? Councilwoman Boyle.
Yes, I'll second, Mr. President.
We have a motion and a second for passage of ordinance 21-100. Is there any discussion? Council Clerk will please take a roll on ordinance 21-100.
Councilmember Leopard,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Boyle,
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Yanatuno,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Ordinance 21-100 passes by a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 21-101, introduced by Steve Leopard. Ordinance authorizing city administrator to prepare plans and specifications, advertise for and receive bids, and recommend and execute a contract for the 2022 street paving program and declaring an emergency.
That is the third reading of ordinance 21-101. Councilman Leopard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd ask for passage of ordinance number 21-101.
We have a motion for passage of ordinance 21-101. Is there a second? Councilman Perkins.
I'd like the second motion, please.
We have a motion and a second for passage of ordinance 21-101. Is there any discussion? Councilman Leopard.
Thank you, Mr. President. We just finished within the last 2 weeks our 2021 paving program, and already we're ready to bid out 2022. Our city engineer, Matt Watson, should be commended for having everything in order and is being prompt with this so we can get the best possible pricing.
Very well said. Any further discussion? Council Clerk will please take a roll on the emergency.
Councilman Leopard.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Perry.
Yes.
Boyle.
Yes.
Gillig.
Yes.
Yanatuno.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Emergency passes by a vote of 7-0. Take a vote on the passage.
Councilman Leopard.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Perry.
Yes.
Boyle.
Yes.
Gillig.
Yes.
Yanatuno.
Yes.
And Jones.
Yes.
Ordinance 21-101 passes by a vote of 7-0.
1 second, please. Thank you. Ordinance number 21-104, introduced by Steve Leopard. Ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept permanent easements from Storm Master Funding 14 LLC for sanitary sewer purposes along Mall Road, County Road 11 in Eagle Rock Business Park, and declaring an emergency.
That is the second reading of ordinance 21-104.
Ordinance number 21-105, introduced by Ben Gillig. Annual ordinance appropriating certain sums from all city funds for current and other expenditures of the city of Tiffin for fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2022, and ending December 31st, 2022.
That is the first reading of ordinance 21-105.
Ordinance number 21-106, introduced by Ben Gillig. Ordinance authorizing the transfer of funds from the 101 General Fund to the 242 Park and Recreation Fund and declaring an emergency.
That is the first reading of ordinance 21-106.
Ordinance number 21-107, introduced by Ben Gillig. Ordinance authorizing the transfer of funds from the 552 Sewer Revenue Fund to the 557 Combined Sewer Separation Fund and declaring an emergency.
That is the first reading of ordinance 21-107.
Ordinance number 21-108, introduced by Ben Gillig. Ordinance authorizing the transfer of funds and payment of bond and loan principal and interest and declaring an emergency.
That is the first reading of ordinance 21-108.
Ordinance number 21-109, introduced by Ben Gillig. Ordinance authorizing the return of the balance of the 2012 to 2021 Fire Vehicle Fund to the Capital Improvement Fund, authorizing the creation of 3/30/2022-2031 Fire Vehicle Fund and amending the budget ordinance.
That is the first reading of ordinance 21-109.
Ordinance number 21-110, introduced by Ben Gillig. Ordinance amending and restating ordinance number 20-134, the city pay ordinance to comply with the state of Ohio minimum wage law to establish appropriate rates of compensation for certain city employees and declaring an emergency.
That is the first reading of ordinance 21-110.
Ordinance number 21-111, introduced by Steve Leopard, an ordinance confirming that the real estate purchase agreement between the city of Tiffin, Ohio, and Tiffin Riverfront Development LLC is null and void, and declaring an emergency.
That is the first reading of ordinance 21-111.
And that concludes the ordinances.
Thank you, Council Clerk Forrest. We're now under other business. Anything for the good of the order for council? I'd like to just remind everybody to take a look, continue to take a look at the budget. Be sure to share those questions with City Administration, Finance Director Kaufman, and they can provide the same wonderful and very informative answers that we received from Councilman Jones's inquiries tonight. I think that was really pretty special. Any other business? Councilwoman Iannatuno.
Do you need a call or set a finance meeting?
Council Clerk Forrest, what was the addendum to?
21-41.
Yeah. Yes, Finance Director's request for legislation F-21-41.
That was for the implementation of the,
For the $30 fee for check
Yes.
returns.
And I think there was a second one. Was it 2137?
Yeah, the fee schedule
Oh,
update.
yeah. The engineer's fee schedule.
yeah, let's go ahead and let's set a meeting for those. It should be relatively brief. Would it be possible at our next meeting on, I believe it is the 6th, to meet beforehand? I think these are both relatively cut and dry. Would everybody be available at, say, 6:20, 6:15? Councilwoman Boyle, you're looking,
I might be in town, so
might be,
I think so. I think I'm in town as of right now.
out of town or in town?
In town.
Okay.
I'll let you know if not.
We would still have the necessary memberships. So I would like to announce a finance meeting to be held on Monday, December 6th at 6:20 PM in council chambers, or the council conference room. Purpose of the meeting will be to discuss requests for legislations 21-37 and F-21-41, as well as any other business that may come before the committee.
What time did you say again?
6:20.
6:20. Is it possible to ask that if you think that you're willing to do so, to have legislation drawn, to have that presented? Because it would be ideal if we could have that to kick off the new year versus implementing it halfway into the first month of the new year. You know, it's easier to change fee schedules at the
Certainly.
beginning of the year if you're willing to consider that, Mr. Chair.
I would absolutely be. That was the hesitancy with, but this will just give us a chance to get that into a committee report. But I would be more than happy to. In fact, if I could direct the law director to prepare legislation for F-21-37 and F-21-41 for our next meeting.
Thank you.
Very good. Anything else? Councilman Jones.
Really not important, but Mayor said he was going to hold his report to 5 minutes, which he did, and I extended it, so it's, he kept his word on the 5 minutes, so. Add that.
Good.
Ken's got my back. I appreciate it. What that has to do with the price of hash browns, I don't know.
Mayor,
All in favor on Bridget's?
well,
Yeah, can I make a motion for that to be a rule for you?
that's the mayor's rule, not mine. I didn't bring this up.
Well, you're about to be the council president. So you're about to make the rules here.
Councilman Perry.
Just wanted to commend Councilman Leopard on his veteran power move of saying yes before the vote. I love really showing off his veteran leadership.
Well, to that end, and with that term, I'd like to, take the opportunity to thank Councilman Leopard and Council President Fote and City Administrator Thornton, as well as the numerous veterans we have in the police and fire department for their service with Veterans Day being celebrated last week. It's one of my favorite days to do with the kids, and certainly appreciated. We thank you very much. And on that note, we will stand adjourned at 8:37 PM. Have a wonderful evening.
Ken,
Sir.
price hash browns going up, you